What if I told you that millionaires around the world are quietly abandoning stocks and real estate to buy the same metal that ancient kings hoarded? Welcome to Timeless Finance. Today, I'm inviting you to explore why the wealthy are rushing to gold in 2025 and what it means for the rest of us. But first, I have a quick question for you. Comment down below and tell me, what country are you in and what time is it for you right now? I'm really interested in seeing just how global our community is. Now, let us get into it. Gold has always carried mystique. For centuries, it has been a symbol of wealth, power, and stability. But right now, something unusual is happening. Millionaires across the world are shifting their money into gold. The question is, why now? What do they know that the average person does not? Here is the truth. The global financial system is built on confidence. Everything from your savings account to the stock market depends on trust. But that trust is fading. Inflation has eaten into purchasing power. Central banks are drowning in debt. And geopolitical tensions are reshaping the balance of power. When confidence cracks, gold shines. Let us start with inflation. In the last few years, governments printed trillions to keep economies afloat. That money did not disappear. It spread through the economy, driving up prices everywhere. Housing, food, fuel, healthcare, everything costs more. Real wages have not kept up, and the purchasing power of the dollar, euro, and yen has quietly eroded. Millionaires understand that. They see their wealth melting away in real time, so they move to something the system cannot print, gold. But inflation is not the only reason. The bigger concern is the fragility of the financial system itself. After years of artificially low interest rates, the global economy is addicted to cheap money. Everyone is leveraged. When interest rates rise, debt becomes toxic. We have already seen major bank failures and liquidity crisis. Gold does not depend on any bank, does not need an internet connection, and does not rely on political promises. It is value you can hold. Wealthy investors are not buying gold because they expect quick returns. They are buying it because they expect instability. Historically, gold demand spikes before major financial realignments, before wars, currency crises, or shifts in global trade systems. Before World War I, gold reserves soared. Before the end of the Bretton Woods system in the 1970s, demand spiked again. Today, the same pattern is repeating, and the data backs it up. Central banks, especially in countries like China, Russia, and India, have been buying gold at record levels. They are quietly reducing their exposure to the United States dollar. When governments start hoarding gold, it means they no longer trust paper promises. Millionaires are simply following their lead. There are three categories of buyers. First, the defensive millionaires, protecting their wealth from inflation and devaluation. Second, the strategic investors who see gold as a geopolitical hedge. They know that global trade, once dominated by the dollar, is fragmenting. The rise of BRICS nations suggests the world is preparing for a shift away from United States dominance. Gold will play a central role in that transition. Third, the opportunists betting on fear itself. They understand that when panic hits, gold prices explode. But here is what most people miss. This gold rush is not about the metal itself. It is about distrust in the system. You do not have to be a millionaire to see the signs. Look at the rising United States national debt, now over $34 trillion. Look at how every major government runs on deficits. The system needs inflation to survive. But inflation destroys savings. It is a silent transfer of wealth from the public to the powerful. Gold is one of the few assets that resists that transfer. It has no counterparty risk. No chief executive officer can mismanage it. No government can default on it. It is not a promise. It is proof. That is why smart money is moving there quietly. Every major empire in history eventually debased its currency to extend its lifespan. Rome started with pure silver coins but diluted them with copper until they were worthless. The British Empire did the same with paper pounds. And now the American empire is following that same path. And every time, gold preserved the wealth of those who saw it coming. Let us go deeper. For nearly 80 years, the dollar has reigned supreme. It became the world reserve currency after World War II when the dollar was backed by gold. But that system collapsed in 1971 when President Nixon closed the gold window. From that moment on, money was no longer tied to something real. It became a promise that governments could print without limit. Since then, debt has exploded exponentially. Global debt now exceeds $300 trillion. Central banks have responded by lowering interest rates, printing more currency, and inflating away the value of money. But this cycle cannot go on forever. You cannot fix debt with more debt. At some point, confidence breaks, and when that happens, the system has to reset. Gold is the only form of money that has survived every reset in history. Now, let us talk about something few people know exists. The de-dollarization movement. Countries are reducing their dependence on the United States dollar. Russia and China trade energy in yuan. India is exploring rupee settlements. BRICS nations are discussing a new common currency, possibly backed by gold. Every one of these moves chips away at dollar supremacy. Gold is the insurance policy against that shift. But there is another layer. Central bank digital currencies. Governments are racing to launch their own digital money controlled directly by central banks. But for wealthy individuals, this represents the ultimate risk, a world where every transaction can be tracked, taxed, or even blocked. When money becomes programmable, freedom disappears. Gold, by contrast, is outside the digital system. It is private, untraceable, and beyond algorithmic control. In 2024, global gold demand hit record highs. Central banks bought over 1,000 tons. But private gold buying among high net worth individuals also surged. In Singapore, Dubai, and Switzerland, private vaults are filling up. The richest families are moving physical gold into offshore storage. Not exchange-traded funds, not paper contracts, real bars. Because in a crisis, paper promises are worthless. Only what you can hold matters. Now let us address what skeptics say. Gold does not produce income. That is true. It does not pay interest or dividends. But that is not the point. Gold is not meant to grow wealth. It is meant to protect it. When times are bad, when currencies collapse or inflation spirals, it is priceless. Imagine you were wealthy in Germany in the 1920s. You had stocks, bonds, and cash. Then hyperinflation hit. Your paper wealth evaporated, but those who held gold preserved their fortunes. Or think of Argentina, where families that kept gold coins survived generations of economic collapse. The world is heading for another reset, and the rich are positioning themselves early. And while they quietly buy gold, the average person is told it is outdated. Financial advisors say just buy stocks. Yet those same advisors often have gold exposure in their private portfolios, tell the public to hold paper while the powerful accumulate the real thing. When millionaires buy gold, they are buying freedom from the system. They are diversifying against political risk, digital control, and economic collapse. The shift might not stay quiet for long. When panic hits, it goes mainstream. One financial shock, and suddenly everyone rushes into gold. But by then, the price will have already moved. In the end, gold is not just metal. It is memory. It remembers every empire that fell, every currency that failed, and every lesson we refused to learn. It is the asset of foresight. So the next time you see a headline saying gold hits a new high, remember that is not gold rising. That is the dollar falling. That is the system quietly shifting. And those who understood that, who saw the signs, who moved early, they will not just survive what is coming next, they will define it. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below. Do you agree with this? What is your take on gold as a wealth protection strategy? Your perspective really matters to us and helps shape the future of this channel.